this will be sort of a behind the scenes video. I want to make an outfit for my mannequin. I have lots of accessory ideas in my head that I want to do videos on, but I need a cute display for them. And I want it to be sort of boho, hippie details, but not so crazy busy that my accessories will disappear into it. So I thrifted this little tiny white dress, maxi dress, and I'm going to make a skirt and top with it. Now this is for the mannequin, but it might stir some ideas in your own head for your own upcycles. So let's get to it. So here's what the dress looks like right now. Cute but basic. Okay, so this has an elastic waistband right here, and it remains elastic all the way in the back. I'm going to cut that off right above the elastic, maintaining that elastic for the skirt. Now I'm going to lay it on my table, and I'm going to measure up from the bottom 21 inches, and I want it cut off all of the bottom here about there. So now I want to add 2 tiers of lace with a little bit of boho ruffling. Okay, so now I'm in my storeroom, and I bought racks. I have lots of racks, and they are worth their weight in gold when it comes to helping me organize all my fabrics and things, because I collect lace. When I run across a lace tablecloth or curtain that I like, I grab it because I use volumes of it. And so I want 2 different pieces of lace, one different for each tier. And I think I like this one. I brought my skirt with me so that I could kind of see what I like. I think I like this one too for the second tier. They're kind of creamy colors. Okay, so the first tier, I hiked this up and tucked it in a little bit so you can see the lining. I am going to sew the first tier to the lining, and I want it almost to the floor, about a few inches from the floor, because then I'll add another little ruffle at the bottom of that. So that's 19 inches for me. And so I'm going to cut strips of the lace tablecloth 19 inches wide, and I'll probably have to piece some together to get enough to pleat it all the way around. I ended up cutting 2 pieces, and I pieced them together, right sides together, straight stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And a good rule of thumb for the length of this, now I usually say double, so I'm going to sew to the bottom of this skirt right here, take the measurement of that and double this. That'll give you a lot of pleating. If you just want subtle pleating, you know, you can go less. So now I'm going to sew this on to the lining. So now I want to sew the first tier. Here's my skirt right side out. I am going to take that lace and move it up and out of the way so that I can see my lining. Now, this is the most technical part of the whole thing, and it's not even that technical. You've probably seen this a zillion times if you watch my videos. I am going to start at a side seam sewing this, and what I'm going to do is take my right side. If you have a right side, this one doesn't really matter. I am going to lay it on top of the lining, because I am going to sew this right sides together. And when I start at the side seam, I will start about right here sewing so that I have a little flap to sew the opposite side to when I get to that point. So I will lay this on right sides together like this, take it to my machine, no pinning, anything like that. And I will stick my needle in, go forward, back, and just about every couple inches, I'll overlap that on itself about 1/2 inch, sew over it, and continue doing that all the way around. And when I get to here, I'll show you what I do to close it all up. And I am using a straight stitch and about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So now I'm almost all the way back around, and here's where I started. And I'm stopping about this far away, and I'm going to back stitch because I'm going to have to pull this out of here in a second. Now I still have a bunch of ruffle left, lace, and I need to cut it off. So I will just eyeball this. I don't want to cut it off right at this piece because I want to make a couple more pleats. So I am going to add maybe a couple inches and then just cut this off. Now I back stitch so I can pull this out of here. And I am going to take this piece and this other side that I started with, and I'm going to sew those together, right sides together. Now I have that sewn together, but I still have a gap right here. So I am going to put it back in my machine to sew that up. I'm going to line it up with where I stopped, go forward, back, and here's my gap. I'm just going to make a couple little pleats and get it all sewn. Now I'm going to take that other tablecloth and I am going to cut 8-inch strips to go around for the top tier. Now I have my skirt laid out on my table, and I am going to take that ruffle and use the same techniques, only I am going to sew this on the outside of this piece right here. I'll start at the side, I'll overlap 1/2 inch, and since both these laces are sort of gappy, I'm going to use a zigzag stitch, my largest zigzag stitch, and pleat it all the way around, close it up, just like I did the other one. Okay, since this is a behind the scenes, I'm going to show you a really stupid thing that I did. See, when you're at your machine, all this lace gets kind of confusing. I get in a big hurry, which is one of my downfalls. And what I did, that 8-inch piece, I sewed it to the bottom of this instead of this. I mean, that is just a careless mistake. I'm going to have to cut that off and sew it to here, which was the intended way to sew it. Okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. You know, we all make mistakes in life, and I heard a wonderful speaker one time say, even the big mistakes in life, you call yourself a silly Billy, and you move on from no negative critical talk about yourself in your own head. Be kind to yourself. Call yourself a silly Billy and move on. Now I just want to add a small ruffle to this one and a small ruffle to this one. And I'm going to pinch pleat it all the way around. And I'm using 3.5-inch strips. This could really be any lace, but it is part of this piece that I cut off. If I don't have enough, I'll just go to one of my other pieces of lace and finish it off. Now this time, when I run out of one, I am just going to overlap it a couple inches and keep on going. And when I get back to the beginning, I'll just overlap it a couple inches. I'm not going to butt all these together like I did these big ruffles. I'm just overlapping the outside of my big ruffle 1/2 inch using a zigzag stitch, my largest one. Okay, now the skirt is done, and I'm just going to add a little bit of detail to the top. Okay, I'm back in my storage room, which is actually like a guest bedroom, and I have shelves, and this is where I stack like-size doilies and things like that. I have larger ones over here, sheets, but I have 2 tubs of just like lace trims and stuff. Now I'm going to dig through here and see what I want for the top and the bottom of the little top. I think I'm going to trim this a little bit shorter, and I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay, I have a piece that looks like this, and that will go along the bottom. Wait. Along the bottom like that. And I have, this is 2 1/4 inches tall. This is 1 1/4 inches tall. And I'm going to sew this along the top with a ruffle facing up. So both will be sewn basically the same way with a zigzag stitch, because this is kind of stretchy and I need it to stretch, and a zigzag stitch will give unlike a straight stitch. And I am going to start, there's a little sliding knot here. I'm going to start under that knot. I'll just move it over. So with this facing up all the way around until I get back to the center, which will be underneath of that knot. And then I will do the same with this one. Start it in the back, zigzag stitch it all the way around. Okay, all done and ready for some pretty boho accessory projects. I get asked a lot where I got my mannequin, and I've been dragging her around for years. I don't remember where I got her, and she doesn't have any markings because I've tried to look and find this mannequin for you. The closest I have found is this one from Amazon. I haven't seen it in person, so I don't know a lot about it. I think it's like $79, something like that. This outfit, I have a tutorial for the top, a tutorial for the pants. I'll put the links in my description. I have this yarn belt. It's a really long cluster of yarn pieces that I just braid. Now, this solved a problem for me back in the day when I was selling. I would make jeans, and they would typically be oversized and really oversized for my tiny little mannequins. And so I didn't want to pin it or clip the jeans, you know, because I want to show them off. I don't want them to look all weird. And I didn't want to put belts on them because even if you put in the description, belt not included. Well, shoppers on eBay, Etsy, including myself, aren't really famous for reading every single word in the description. And will they be expecting the belt that I put on there? And I didn't want to give away all my belts. So I started making braid belts, and I would tie up the pants and I would say braid belt included. And so it solved that problem for me. I'm going to bring this in a little closer, give her a little spin so you can see the details, and I thank you so much for watching.